Daylight, my MVVs, welcome. Ooni of Ife is rumored to have given Ebony an ultimatum: take the Are crown oath or vacate the palace. Now, as we all know, the Ooni of Ife, as the supreme traditional ruler of the Yoruba people and custodian of their heritage, is deeply entrenched in the spiritual and cultural governance of the ancient city of Ile-Ife. His authority extends beyond, mere ceremonial duties. It involves the upholding of sacred rites, ensuring continuity in traditional practices, and safeguarding the purity of the throne. In this light, the reported ultimatum given to Ebony to either take the Are crown oath or leave the palace carries profound traditional historical implication. Now, I want you to know that this is not just one of those kinds of events where they will say somebody did something and Oloris will come and say, it's not me, it's not me, it's not me. And they will say Oni should trade with leniency as these are his wives, women are this, women are that. When it comes to very fundamental, traditional, events like this, okay, nobody would take side with any of them. Nobody. As a matter of fact, if you take side with them, it will be seen as treachery, okay? And so no one wants to do that. And they said, this is very, very important. And they said, Ooni of Ife has given Ebony an ultimatum to go and take the oath or vacate the palace. And in this regard, going by, the culture and tradition, the enforceable traditions of the Ile-Ife people, if she doesn't, Kabiyesi has the right to, divorce, reject, and just throw her away. Seriously. Now, in Yoruba land, from what we have heard, particularly in Ile-Ife, the spiritual headquarters of the Yoruba race, oaths are not taken lightly. They are sacred covenant between individuals and the deities, the ancestors, and the land itself. Taking an oath before assuming a significant, title or position signifies absolute loyalty, submission, and commitment to the throne and its tradition, okay? The Are crown, like other sacred elements of the Ife monarchy, is deeply spiritual. Those who are associated with it, especially, the wives of the Oni, must undergo specific rites, which often include taking an oath to uphold the custom, remains faithful to the king, and, dedicate themselves to the service of the palace. This oath binds the individual spiritually and traditionally, ensuring that they do not act against the interests of the throne. Now, whatever, a ritual that was taken when the Ooni of Ife married them, an element of the Are crown was in it. And so if something goes wrong with the Are crown, you have no right to refuse to take an oath. Refusing to take such an oath is considered an act of rebellion against the institution of the monarchy. The deities and the ancestors signifies an unwillingness to submit to the spiritual authority of Oni, which is traditional, in the Yoruba belief. If you do this, it has griefs and, consequences. Those who refuse such sacred oaths are often believed to be unworthy of their position, and their presence in the palace is seen as a potential disruption to the harmony of the Yoruba kingdom. And so, you see, that is why people will continue to tell you that marrying the Ooni of Ife is not a joke. It is not a joke. It's like, you just put yourself in like some kind of cult, and you must adhere to all their belief, their rights, and their everything. I do think this happens to be the reason why a lot of Christians judge Olori Naomi at the time that she said yes to this, because most of the Yoruba Christians who were judging Olori Naomi at that time are people who understand the modus of operation of, the throne. That's the only. It is highly, fully, completely traditional. Daylight, I tell you the truth. That is how it is. Now, The history of Ile-Ife and the Yoruba kingdom is filled with instances where individuals, especially queens, were either rejected, punished, or exiled from refusing to align with tradition. Okay, now we heard about the beautiful things that Queen Moremi did. Okay, Queen Moremi is a legend. We study Queen Moremi. Now, a lot of Yoruba children, when they hear about Queen Moremi, they know that there's something about Queen Moremi Ajasoro. Now, while Moremi remains one of the most celebrated heroines of Yoruba history, her story highlights the deep spiritual sacrifices tied to the Ife throne. After helping Ile-Ife overcome its enemies, she had to sacrifice her only son to fulfill the terms of a spiritual pact. This underscores the fact that serving the Ife throne requires unwavering commitment, even at great personal cost. Had she refused, she would have been seen as disloyal to the throne. Imagine after making such sacrifice, after serving the throne, okay? And now, okay, let's leave that. Let's say that is history. Are you people aware of the real problems that happened between Queen Wurola, Zainab, Otiti, Obano? A lot of people don't know. And so when our kinds, we talk on social media, we just open our mouth, blah, blah, blah. We don't know, okay? Now, let's talk about, a more recent history. Queen Wurola. Of course, we are all aware of who Wurola Ogunsi is, okay? She was reportedly at some point left, as in Ooni of Ife estranged himself from Wurola while they were married, okay? The man estranged himself from Wurola deliberately due to issues relating to incompatibility with the spiritual traditions of Ife monarchy. While the exact reason for her exit were not publicly detailed, it was clear that when the queen does not fully align with the expectation of the throne, they only have the traditional right to dismiss her, okay? Now, a lot of people may want to ask, okay, what are you talking about there right now? Queen Naomi did not align herself. Queen Naomi and the Ooni of Ife had an agreement from onset. Queen Naomi, when the Ooni of Ife met with Queen Naomi, Ooni of Ife said, I love you, I want to be with you. Queen Naomi said, I am a Christian, a born-again Christian at that, a prophetess at that. I am not going to have anything to do with all the calabash carrying thing. I will not be able. Kabiyesi said, yes, I understand. This time I want to try something different. Now, the reason why Kabiyesi went that route was because first, he fell head over in heels in love with the young girl, Olori, Naomi. And then secondly, because when he was made the king in 2015, they had come up with this ideology that marrying from a royal traditional family from the Edo royal dynasty is going to further, strengthen the royal family and will keep him longer on the throne. His belief at the time was that, okay, this woman is a traditional woman. The woman will align with all the, expectations of the traditional community. But when this woman came, the issue was different. And that way, he had to let her go. For the case of Olori Naomi, that agreement, they had it from the beginning, that Naomi will not be involved in this. Now, let's look at the case of other traditional queens in the Yoruba land. In many Yoruba kingdom, queens are expected to undergo spiritual purification and oath-taking. In cases where they refuse, they are either sent back to their families or outrightly divorced by the king. This is because a queen's presence in the palace is not just about marriage, but about fulfilling a sacred duty to the land and the ancestors. By tradition, the Ooni of Ife is not just a king. He is regarded as a deity on earth. His queens are not simple wives in the modern sense, but are spiritually born to the throne. When a queen refuses to take an oath or participate in required rites, she is seen as rejecting not just the king, but also the gods, the ancestors, and the kingdom. Okay? Now, Such situation, the Ooni has the absolute right to dissolve the marriage. Just as previous queens have been removed from the palace for various reasons, any wife who refuses to uphold tradition custom can be asked to leave, revoke her royal privilege. A queen who does not complete her rite or is asked to do a rite and they refuse, the Ooni of Ife has the right to revoke their royal privilege. There are so many things, like even there is banishment in this case and exile. But the truth remains that Ooni of Ife is not that kind of a king. Ebony refusing to take the Are crown oath could be seen as, of course, a disrespect to the tradition, a potential threat to the palace harmony, a justifiable divorce, a reason for the Ooni of Ife. And so this is what is going on. They say the palace is so hot as it is right now. And Ooni has given ultimatum for that oath to be taken or she vacates the palace. I am going to bring you more updates. Do not forget that these are all alleged, rumored, unverified information making the rounds on social media and should not be seen as fact.